Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Jones and today I have Peace Party candidate for Guildford, John Morris here. John, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Adam. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about you. So how did you get into politics and what really inspired you to get into it?
I was inspired to get into politics by a lecturer at the university that I attended many decades ago. He was a keen member, a supporter of the Liberal Party when the leader was Joe Grimmond many decades ago. And from that early day, I kept up my interest in the Liberal Party. When it became amalgamated with the SDP as the Liberal Democrats, I was finding by then that my interest was developing in peace, and I found that party not really a peace party at all, and so I left. And fairly soon after, I realised that if the peace could be put over to the public by standing in elections for peace. And so that's how I came to develop with some others the Peace Party.
So I guess the big question really is, what is the Peace Party and what does it stand for?
So the Peace Party is a fully fledged political party. We're registered with the Electoral Commission and we stand for peace. And of course everybody says they are for peace, but I am for peace in a way that is different from the other parties, because we stand for absolute peace, for doing to others as we would have them do to us, which means that I could never get involved with killing people or supporting an organisation whose main object was to bring about peace using killing as the means. So that's my piece. It's a much more difficult subject.
So you're standing in Guildford. What relationship do you have with the area of Guildford, and have you stood there before?
Yes, I've been an inhabitant of Surrey for quite a long time now, over 30 years. And I was actually born in Surrey, in what is now the London Borough of Sutton. And so for 30 years or more, I've been involved in politics in that area.
So what would be your priorities if you were elected as Guildford's MP?
So priorities, obviously working with Parliament to bring about peaceful ways of resolving conflict. And of course that works on a local scale too. I gather that members of Parliament often get involved in disputes of one kind and another, and I hope that the training I've given myself over the years might help in that way. But of course I'm also interested in more practical matters like ensuring that people have homes to live in. We're very desperately short of homes, and I would be working my level best to persuade the government to produce the funds so that we can build more homes.
So Anne Milton has been Guildford's MP for 14 years, since 2005, and she's been thrown out of the Conservative Party. She has no party line to follow, she has no whip to follow. So what edge do you really have over her? What do you bring to the table?
I hope I bring to the table a particular viewpoint, the viewpoint of peace, wanting to stand for bringing that into operation. When somebody has to describe themselves as an independent, of course the general public don't know what that means until they read the literature from the independent candidate or meet her, as we've been doing of course in the Guildford constituency meeting in front of the people in Hustings and then hearing a little bit more about what an independent person stands for.
So she had disagreements with her old party about the subject of Brexit.
Yes.
What is your view on the EU referendum debate?
Well, I've always been in favour of countries working together. Initially, of course, the United Kingdom was part of the European Free Trade Association before it joined what was then called the Common Market. I've always been in favour of that and drawing countries closer and closer together as they can possibly bear to be. They don't necessarily want to be something like the United States of America, but at least the countries talk to each other, work together on all kinds of projects, human rights, trade, overseas aid, and to renounce that in some way is, to me, anti-peace.
So let's just say you were Prime Minister, but you had all the control, you didn't need Parliament or anyone. So what would you do for the next steps of Brexit? Would you have a second referendum? Would you go down the Liberal Democrat route of revoking Article 50 altogether? What would you do?
It's very difficult to give a definite answer to that because, of course, referenda are not part of the British Constitution. Our democracy revolves around Parliament and what Parliament decides to do, having debated and looked at all the implications. And I would prefer that as the way forward, if at all possible. We could always have, the country could always have another advisory referendum, but to have a referendum where the people are asked to decide on an issue which is so complicated is just impossible. Unfortunately, the previous Prime Minister who set up that referendum was probably under the impression that he was going to win it and that the topic would go away, which of course it didn't, because it was just a straight majority on that referendum for giving people the decision, which they were finding very difficult to do. They had all kinds of other problems that were going on.
So how do you think that 2016 referendum was handled?
It was probably set up in a way that I would never have advised. It should have been an advisory referendum. It should probably have had some kind of upper limits, not just a 50-50 choice. It should have probably been something like 2/3 or 60% in favour before the government decided to take any action.
So there might be some Brexiteers in Guildford who may want or may or not plan to vote for you. What would you say to those who are planning to kind of vote for you but want to know whether you would have that second referendum or not, because they're very angry, I think, Brexiteers, that the will of the people isn't being followed?
Yes, very, very, very difficult. And there are those people I meet out on the street who are very disappointed that their wishes haven't been adhered to. Somehow or another, Parliament has got to get its head round this after the election and resolve what is the conflict that's taking place within the country. Perhaps I'm in a political party that is in a good position to help Parliament to resolve that conflict.
So moving on to your party more specifically, how many candidates do you currently have standing in this election?
In this election, we're back down to two. Jim Duggan standing in Horsham, the next constituency to Guildford. And Jim Duggan's been standing for peace for a lot longer than I have. I started in 1997. He was involved in peace politics a decade or more before that.
Are you looking to expand the party in the future?
Difficult to see. I was hoping in 1997 that I was starting some kind of snowball effect, but it hasn't happened yet. I feel it's very important to keep going to put forward that different point of view to the public, to enable them to think about it. Even if they don't vote for me, at least they're thinking about peace and how we keep ourselves safe and secure.
Is there a part of you that thinks I should have stood for a mainstream party, whether that's 10 years ago or to the present day?
Yes, it's a thought, but I don't think I could ever now, with the views that I have, ever stand with any of the other mainstream or minor political parties, because they all have somewhere in their manifestos that word defence, and you read into it and it's talking about defence using weapons. In other words, they see the killing of people, the taking of human life, as a way to achieve an objective, and I can never go with that. I like human life, love human life much more than that, so that I would never take it, even on a personal level.
So there's been the ITV show Good Morning Britain, and there's been Labour politicians who have been questioned on whether they would scrap Trident or not, and often they haven't really given an answer either way. What's your view on Trident, and what would you do if you was Prime Minister and had a majority?
Yes, so all weapons for me should be got rid of. A first step, an easier step, would be to get rid of all nuclear weapons. Many countries exist without nuclear weapons, and I think Britain could do without them too, as a first step towards eliminating all weapons.
So finally, other than voting for you at the ballot box, what can people in Guildford or just around the country really do to help you? Do you have social media websites or any platforms that people can get involved in?
Yes, we have a Facebook page, Peace Party, Non-Violence, Justice, Environment, and we have a Twitter feed at Peace Party UK. We have a website which has a lot of more information on it than I could ever give you in an interview. And donating, yes, there are ways that you can contact us and donate to the funds.
Okay, John Morrison of the Peace Party, thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.